Hello, this is Vitualis Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. This is match 3 of the 2022 Australia Day tournament, the final round, and I am one of the final 5 contestants, aiming for one of the top 3 places. Now in this match I play against Go the Dogs with the black pieces, fairly short game with only 12 moves. Quick look at the review, and as you can see, I managed to capture a big lead at the beginning and then win in the end. Not a super high accuracy game. Back to the analysis now. My opponent started with the very principled d4. And those of you who follow my channel will know that I just recently made a video on the Englund Gambit as a potentially rather tricky response to d4 that pulls the d4 player out of their comfort zone. So the Englund Gambit is, of course, e5, immediately causing tension in the center, and the only good move for white is in fact to accept the gambit. My opponent does. I now immediately attack the pawn with knight c6, so trying to enter the main line. As expected, they defend. Now bring the queen to e7. Very typically, they're going to add an extra defender with the bishop, and that is in fact what they do. And now the critical move. Queen to b4 with check, and also forking the pawn on b2 and the bishop on f4. Now the best move here for white is in fact bringing the bishop all the way back to d2, counter-attacking, but this is still a very, very tricky position. I take, and what will the opponent do now? They bring out their knight. And now here for black, I don't think the evaluation is technically that good. Yeah, like almost +2, +2.5, but very, very tricky for white to navigate with this sort of very threatening attack. Knight can go there, or the bishop. Both of those are good. Here I decided to play knight. And the logic here is look at the opponent's king, the white king. It is basically smothered. And so the idea here is if I take that pawn with the knight, the opponent has no choice. They are forced to capture back with queen, and then I win the queen. So that is the logic here. But you know, it's just something not expected. I don't necessarily expect the opponent to see it, and they didn't see it. They didn't see it. They decide to immediately attack the queen. And this sort of makes sense, right? Because in this normal setup, with a knight here, queen there, rook to the b file, you know, it attacks the queen. Rook is defended by the queen, by the knight. Knight also defends the pawn on the a file. So generally, this is really good, and often the only square for the queen is to go onto the side there. But in this case, of course, there's a lot of trickiness. A knight captures the pawn on c2 with check, and as you can see, great move, minus 4.7, and basically the opponent is lost. So obviously I have to capture, and I take back. And here the opponent decides to immediately attack my queen. Now, in this position, I had a long think. So one of the advantages that white has is that they are much, much better developed than I am. I have no development, pawns all the way still on the starting square, queen sort of out in the middle of nowhere. And I was worried actually that in this position that I might get my queen chased around, and even worse, end up losing my queen from a winning position. I didn't think it was actually that simple to play. And so I did see that queen could sort of come back here, and I thought that that was probably going to be the best move, but I decided to do something else instead. I decided to try to inflict psychological damage onto my opponent by taking the bluff, saying, I am not afraid of this position, I think I'm going to win, and I am going to take your rook with my queen. And that's what I did. So they have to capture back. Now I can bring my bishop out, basically forcing a trade. And then in this position, clearly I've got my pawns, look, all still in a good position. A big gaping wound on my opponent's queen side. They can't castle right away. And here my opponent basically abandoned the game. So they timed out, so I won. And I noticed that it looked like my opponent didn't play any of the other games in this round. Looks like they might have left. Now, obviously, they might have just had something more important to do than play chess, and that's why they left. But I like to imagine that this was such a devastating move on them, they decide to leave the tournament altogether. Good game, GG. So I have now won 3 out of 3 matches so far in this round. I'm feeling really a good sense that I might actually end up winning one of the title positions. Now, in terms of the big takeaway from this game, it is that psychological tactics are definitely a valid consideration in the game of chess. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.